inch given by either side. Yes, there were mistakes made, but it was absolutely nip and tuck all the way, and I thought very enjoyable game. Mark, I don't know about you.
I certainly enjoyed that there was an intensity to the performances from both sides. And last week I talked about when it's playoff time, you don't necessarily expect perfect execution, but what you do expect is high intensity. And I think this game delivered on that. I think, I don't know if Daryl Powell played last week's episode in the cast dressing rooms at all this week, but obviously Sarah's comments about them lacking heart maybe struck a chord with some of their front rowers in particular, because I don't think they can be accused of that, this Castleford side. You can certainly question it ahead of last week's game, but after last week's game, they've answered a few of those points from the critics, haven't they? Because it was their first ever away playoff win. It was, I think, a win that was built off a backbone of defending their line, keeping the opposition out, and really showing grit and heart, and especially in that forward pack. Liam Watts, like you said, he was maybe the star player on the pitch. Rankin, I think, was another clear standout for Cass, and that was not in attacking brilliance so much as it was in like toughness and always being there to help his team out of a difficult situation. I think Jordan Rankin in this game, I don't know what it is with him, because I expect him to not be good still, but he was good in this game. I think Wire did get some good stuff from some of their players, particularly the players who were on SLP Dream Team nomination forms this week. Cooper, Clark, Hughes, I think they were fantastic. One thing I think, though, that Warrington couldn't do is get to grips with how they wanted to attack once Lake Austin went off. In that second half, they ended up with no halfbacks on the field of the starting pair, because Patton also really didn't perform. I think they ended up with Ratchford and Hughes as the halfbacks.
I think that's right. I think maybe that's one of the reasons we don't have too many big highlight moments, because Rankin aside, and actually I thought he had a bit of a mixed game. His first few attempts under the high ball didn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence. It looked like a bit of a lottery at the back, but he settled down after that. But it was primarily a battle between the forwards and defences, this one, wasn't it? You picked out the 3 for Warrington there. Chris Hell had a quiet game, maybe because he didn't get an extra bit of time off for a head injury assessment. But Clark and Cooper and Hughes and Joe Philbin, when he came on, I thought was pretty good. But for Castleford, Watts and McShane and Ollie Holmes, I thought had really good games, and it was absolutely brutal in the centre of the field, and it was a real arm wrestle between those two. But I enjoyed that for what it was. I thought it was a real proper playoff game and very enjoyable.
That big talking point, I suppose, especially from the Wire angle, and Mike did helpfully make sure it was mentioned, is the halfway line penalty attempt from Stephen Ratchford. Now, I seem to remember there was a game against Wigan, I think it was the Challenge Cup game in 2017, when he attempted something similar, and on that occasion it was in the summer, so it was maybe a bit of an easier kick, conditions wise. He didn't make the grade on that kick either on that occasion, and so I have no idea why he thought after that much of the game had gone by he had that in him at that stage, when he hasn't really shown it too many times before from what I'm aware. I just think it was a really poor decision, especially because at that stage I think they had Cass on the ropes, and whilst Cass were defending the goal line fantastically, this was an opportunity against a Cass side that must have been tiring to try and deliver that blow, or even maybe win another penalty further up the field. You never know if the referees had not quite swallowed the whistle at that stage. But
I mean, normally in these situations, Mark, your coaches, whilst they encourage the players to make good decisions on the field, your coaches are usually frantically signalling if they think the players are not going to. sort of do the sensible thing here. So I'm amazed that Price wasn't signalling, giving the old rolling the fingers round each other signal, which usually means keep it going. Let's get the ball in touch and put them under pressure.
I think it was a tough call because it would have tied up the game, wouldn't it? So obviously you hoped you could get that over, but I just don't think they had the capability. So you got to be aware of your own limitations, and maybe Stefan Ratchford in that moment wasn't thinking clearly. I'm not sure. The kick as well, the conversion that went over the top of the post, maybe that's what gave him confidence that he could kick it that far, because when he'd kicked that conversion, he kicked that plenty hard enough, didn't he? Because it cleared the top of the sticks, and the touch judges were confident that it went over the post, not inside the post, and you got to say that they were in the best position. The camera angle was not directly behind the kick. Stefan Ratchford had an element of bemusement about it, but he would see it going slightly in, and as would all the Warrington fans. I'm sure all the Castleford fans will have seen it going definitely wide. I'd stick somewhere down the middle, which is actually over the top of the post, which is what the what the touch judges thought. And I'm not arguing with that call.
Usually, if you get if it's really close, one touch judge will give it, and the other won't, and then it's up to the referee to decide. Both touch judges both waved this away straight away, which tells me that there was not much doubt that this was drifting wide.
No. So Castleford answered some critics. They certainly celebrated at the end. The knobheads with the flair need to be knocked on the head. I'm desperately hope none of our fans bring one, but we brought one to St Helens games so many times over the last few years that I imagine some dickhead has a flare that they set off in the middle of the crowd, which I'll be very disappointed to see. But I was disappointed to see it at the end of this game as well from the Castleford fans. But Cass deserved it, didn't they? So well done to them. They roll on.
They did, and they've got a tough game coming up this week, which we'll no doubt touch on in a minute.
Yes, so the qualifying final, the two teams with the second chances, but one of them has that set now, goes into what's it called, sudden death. Knockout rugby, whereas the other one might get will get another second chance. There's no other way. It's complicated, but that's how it works. But it was on Friday night, Wigan versus Salford. It was 6-6 at half time in a very close game. It ended up 18 points to 12 in favour of the home side, Wigan. There was 9,247 there, which again we have to say is a huge disappointment. Around about 1,900 down on Wigan's already disappointing regular season average this year, when I take out the Saints Good Friday game, I think. But Robert Hicks was the referee in this one, and I know that he'll get talked about, if not by others, then by me. In terms of the stats, Salford made more metres, 134 metres more, although at a slightly worse average gain, and they also made more offloads. In fact, the stats on the Super League website say that Wigan made none to Salford's 15 in the offload count. Salford couldn't turn that into breaks, though, or points. Both sides made 4 breaks. Wigan gave away more penalties, but made fewer errors. In terms of the individuals, Oliver Gildart with 1 try and 129 metres, Joe Burgess with 1 try assist, 146 metres and 2 clean breaks. Continuing that golden edge theme, it's George Williams with 1 try assist, 6 tackle busts and 103 metres. And then Morgan Smithies, Super League record, 72 tackles, 17 of which were marker tackles. The 18-year-old kid got himself about, and he was off the field for about 10 minutes in that second half. So he basically made more than 1 tackle per minute that he was on the field in this game.
Which is astonishing.
However you want to dress that up, whether you want to start berating the fact that some of them are third man in tackles, I think every tackle he made had a bit of a wallop, and it's still effort. You still have to get in there and then get back 10 metres.
If you look at the list of players who are behind him, it's a pretty fabulous list. Houghton's got 5 or 6 of them.
I do wonder why all of a sudden people are questioning how tackle stats are drawn up when it's Morgan Smithies of Wigan breaking the record compared to when it's Danny Houghton of Hull.
Danny Houghton, Malcolm Olker, who was a tackling machine at Salford for so many years, wasn't he? I don't think you can argue with it. It's an astonishing performance to get that many completed tackles during a game.
Something to be celebrated.
Yeah,
and he's a star of the future. That's the great thing as well about Morgan Smithies.
Well, I'll hold back judgment on that for now, but one can't help but give him credit for what was clearly an astonishing performance defensively in the middle of the field. And it's not the first time he's put in really big stats on the tackling front.
No, not at all. Okay, also some Salford star performers. Gil Dudson, 149 metres. Josh Jones, 123 metres. George Griffin, 1 try and 45 tackles. And Ken Seo, 5 tackle busts and 139 metres.
And a try assist at one point during the game.
No, that was the other winger, Chris Ninu.
Oh, it was Inu, yeah, sorry, my mistake. He should definitely get a stat mention for that one. Anyway. So, fan views. Mark Butler. When Wigan beat Saints 8-6 in the I don't want to read this one. When Wigan beat Saints 8-6 in the grand final, it's going to make people sick, me included, Mark. Their defence was extraordinary, albeit assisted by Salford getting the rough end of the refereeing calls, which no doubt some people would disagree with. Salford might leave this. Yeah, indeed. Salford might leave this with some regret. God knows they had enough chances, but they showed enough to say they aren't out of it yet. Got to root for them over a cast team that's over a cast team that's not all that. Sorry, Rob.
White Pie said, Wigan edged a tight game and Salford were probably the better side overall. However, solid goal line defence for the most part and a couple of pieces of attacking brilliance sealed the deal. Wigan were their own worst enemies as usual, giving away dumb penalties and dropping the ball in poor areas. However, Salford couldn't capitalise. On to next week and a shootout at the dodgy Vape Stadium for a place at Old Trafford.
POB 1976 says a great game. Salford mistakes cost them in the end. Both teams looked bruised and battered at the end, and it will be hard to back up next week. Wigan will need to be on top form to beat Saints. Quite right.
Carsten said, the miracle will have to wait another week, but Wigan look ready to defend their title. Quite right.
Oh no, I've got Joshua's granddad. A classic game with Salford just needing a little more smarts with the ball in hand. Thwarted by a mix of great defence and the usual grubbiness by Wigan, aided by Hicks siding with the Pies on numerous close calls.
Obviously, I'm more biased in this than all these people who hate Wigan. Support their team first and hate Wigan second, obviously. But I'm obviously more biased than all of these people because I'm a Wigan fan. But I cannot. The grubbiness part, fair enough. We'll talk about Tony Club later on. But the Hicks siding with us on numerous close calls. Watch the game again, guys. He took a fucking try off us. Anyway.
Yes, it was close. Paul Mac 78.
Yeah, he said, sensational game. Salford fans may be small in number, but they were the ones who provided the atmosphere. Unlucky for them, they got the Chris and Inu experience. I wouldn't mind if these two met in the grand final.
It would be a good game if it was a repeat like that. Tom Andrews, a pointless game, but played in a fantastic manner. Salford may have lost, but they somehow won by getting Cass in the next round. Can tell French has the ability to be a very exciting player. Wonder if Hastings will get the peg next to Tony Club next season. I did wonder about that actually at the time.
Well, the comments that have come out afterwards don't suggest there's any animosity between Jackson Hastings and Tony Club. Maybe between Jackson Hastings' mum and Tony Club, but that's a different matter. David Bailey said, not the prettiest win, but a win against a resilient Salford side that won't go away. Defence again superb, with the exception of Faz's attempt on Hastings. Bring on the Saints.
We'll be there. David Kay said, such a great game, so intense, everything the playoffs were designed to create. Shame about the attendance, but a 12-team league I assume he means with Luke Fitchers creates apathy.
I mean, we've got potentially this fixture again in 2 weeks as well, or a week and a half now. So that's kind of a weird way this works too, isn't it? And we finish with Salford fan Mark Roosevere, who says, "You won't need long for my fan review. Great game, away fans great, home fans poo, and Wigan still are the dirtiest team in Super League, especially that shithouse club." Come on, Mark, Catalans